It's been a little bit since I've made a more personal video, and I really want to. Right in this threshold time where the veils are thin, I've been feeling a lot of the ancestral energies moving and shifting in my own DNA, in my own nervous system, in my dreams, and even waking me up in the night. And I am working through a really deep pattern of my own alchemical pattern is being uprooted now around um, sort of the next layer with my vaccine injury story. And I, what I want to say is that it's not just like the reason that I want to talk about this is not just because I want my story to be known, along with the stories of others who've suffered vaccine injury, many of whose stories I've heard and know, and many who I don't, but also because of what I'm noticing start to happen as I see the split between myself and those of us who are taking our health into our own hands and learning how to unwind and undo the damage of these things, and those who are not. Um, and it's a very personal thing for me because I have loved ones in my life who are suffering from the effects, not just of vaccines, but other pharmaceuticals, toxic food, toxic environment, and the things that are actually relatively new, the toxins that have been accumulating over the last couple of generations or a few generations, and especially been ballooning in this last most recent part of history. Um, and there might be some controversy around this because, heck, I come from a family where all of us are neurodivergent, very neurodivergent. And so I think it's a really good thing, for example, that we are making space to accept neurodivergence. That is definitely important. But what bothers me is that some of the things that are happening to people, like the negative consequences and the suffering, um, handicaps and disabilities and memory loss, neurological disorders, inability to walk, and some of the brain damage that is causing diagnoses of neurodivergence that aren't simply a different way to think, but actually result in like having a really hard time taking care of oneself, which is like a whole different level. These are actually not things that we are powerless against. These are relatively new, and the fact that it's happening more and more is not an accident. It's because of the toxicity in our environment. And there's a lot of other people out there besides myself who talk a lot more elaborately and with a lot more of the research around the evidence to back this up and all kinds of information. Like, for example, the amyloid plaques that cause Alzheimer's are, for example, not the problem, but the body responding to toxicity in the brain, trying to protect the brain from it. Like the fact that candida and parasites are not the problem, they're the body's natural way of protecting the tissues from toxins that are accumulating in the body in the way that unfortunately Western allopathic medicine has continued to blindly just throw drugs at the natural things that the body is actually doing to try to send a message to say there's something wrong here and we're trying to protect the body and it's causing discomfort. But the reason it's causing discomfort is not because of these natural responses, it's because of the reason that they're responding, which is the toxicity in our environment. And that combined with the malnourishment of not having the proper minerals in our soil and the proper resources in our bodies that help us to expel the toxins. And so it's this lethal combination of missing certain ingredients to be nourished and resourced with the addition of overwhelming amounts of too much of something that's harmful to the body or grating to the body. And a lot of it does have to do with balance and the type of the thing involved. But overall, the message that I want to give is just how important it is for us to learn how to realign with what I call nature's codes, to realign with the wisdom of our bodies that know how to be healthy, the wisdom of the earth that knows how to be balanced, and to stop doing the things that shake that balance up and that aren't attuned to the proper way that nature is designed to grow and evolve, which is very similar to the way we've become dysregulated in our nervous systems. Trying to push a process instead of moving at the rate and pace of consent of the body and safety, trying to be productive and not truly relational. It's just really time for us to pause to pause and really sink into our hearts and to what really matters. And yeah, it's it was really scary when I was in it, and I was very isolated in my experience. Now I know that a lot of other people have experienced and are experiencing what I experienced, and I feel like I have many tools, and I feel very fortunate that I have found many tools to improve my situation and to gain remission. But it's still a battle because of the things that are out of balance in the world, and it shouldn't have to be an uphill battle. It's also very lonely when people around me are struggling, and it's hard to have coherent relationships with people who are sincerely wanting to, but have brain fog or um, deep freeze and other things going on in their bodies that could be prevented by us getting things together as a culture and choosing to steer the ship toward nature's nature's codes, nature's blueprint, to stop trying to be, the conqueror, to stop playing out the archetype of the conqueror. If there's anything to conquer, it's to conquer, to reclaim our hearts and our deep knowing that we are held by a benevolent universe and a benevolent world, and that nature is wise, that nature actually knows better than our analytical minds, and that we are nature and we have that part of our brain as well that we can activate by settling down and into the whole of ourselves and our bodies and our feeling centers with a strong intent to realign, to heal, and to have our personal healing journey go hand in hand with the healing journey of all living beings. Because a future that is bright and vital and abundant for each of us is one in which there is a sustainable possibility for all life on the planet. So don't give in to being powerless. There's a lot that can be done if people can open their minds to the power that we have to reclaim our health and our world. It's going to be a wave of change, and there's a lot that can shift very quickly. Remember how quickly things changed during lockdown when the animals and the flora and fauna came back into the places where people were being productive, and when there was a pause, nature was like, "Oh yeah, I'll fill that gap. I've been waiting." She has been waiting. So, yeah, it's safe to trust. It's safe to not know how to let go of the unhealthy conqueror conquest mindset and way of doing and being in the world. It's safe. It's okay to not know what to replace it with, how to take care of things in a world that says you have to push, push, push in order to survive. Something wiser is waiting for the pause to show a new way forward. Do you want to practice with me? Practice the courage to pause and listen for what that might be. Now's a really good time to do that. The veils are thin, the ancestors are listening. You're surrounded by so much wisdom. Let's pause and listen.